What if I told you that being the smartest person in the room isn't always the smartest strategy for life? Take a moment and consider this. Does intelligence always lead to happiness, respect, and success? Or could there be something even more powerful hiding in plain sight? Something so counterintuitive that we often overlook it entirely. Imagine this scenario. A room full of brilliant minds, each trying to outshine the other with their dazzling wit and knowledge. It's noisy, competitive, and overwhelming. Yet, in a quiet corner, sits someone who speaks sparingly, observes keenly, and allows others to reveal their strengths and weaknesses. That quiet observer often becomes the most influential person in the room. Why? Because they've mastered the art of humility, restraint, and strategic silence. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most intriguing philosophers of the 19th century, understood this paradox better than most. Known for his sharp insights into human nature, Schopenhauer proposed a way of navigating life that prioritizes wisdom over intelligence, humility over pride, and silence over noise. His lesser-known work, The Wisdom of Life, serves as the foundation for our exploration today. It's not a guide to achieving greatness in the loud, traditional sense, but a subtle invitation to rethink what greatness truly means. In this video, we'll uncover 5 transformative strategies rooted in Schopenhauer's teachings, principles that can shift your perspective on intelligence, respect, and success. And these ideas aren't confined to dusty philosophy books. They're practical tools for navigating relationships, careers, and even your inner thoughts. Let's start with a simple question. Why do we equate intelligence with success? Society has conditioned us to believe that being smart is synonymous with being respected or admired. From early schooling to corporate hierarchies, intelligence is often seen as the ultimate currency. But Schopenhauer challenges this notion. Intelligence, he argues, is only valuable when paired with humility and emotional awareness. Without these, it becomes a weapon that alienates rather than unites. This isn't just philosophical speculation. It's deeply relevant to our modern world. Think about how often social media rewards loud opinions over thoughtful reflection. People rush to show off their achievements, knowledge, and wit. Yet we rarely pause to admire the quiet strength of someone who simply listens. Could it be that we've been looking for success in all the wrong places? Throughout this journey, we'll draw on Schopenhauer's insights and explore how they intersect with timeless wisdom from other sources, including psychology, spiritual teachings, and even modern leadership strategies. For instance, how does playing dumb, yes, intentionally appearing less capable, help you gain respect and influence? Why is silence often more powerful than speech? And how does humility not only win hearts, but also strengthen your own character? In The Wisdom of Life, Schopenhauer emphasizes that true fulfillment doesn't come from external validation, but from inner clarity and balance. As we explore these strategies, you'll see how they can transform not just how others perceive you, but also how you see yourself. So, buckle up, because we're about to unravel the fascinating paradox of how playing the fool can make you wise. Ready to step into this unconventional journey? Let's begin with a glimpse into Schopenhauer's world and how his unique perspective was shaped by the struggles and observations of his life. The roots of Schopenhauer's philosophy and the birth of intellectual humility. To understand Schopenhauer's revolutionary ideas, we first need to step into his world, a life shaped by contradictions, struggles, and an unflinching observation of human behavior. Schopenhauer wasn't a philosopher born into solitude and detachment. He was deeply human, molded by both privilege and pain, And it's these dualities that make his teachings so relevant to us today. Born in 1788 into a wealthy German family, Schopenhauer's early years were marked by access to education and culture. His father, a successful merchant, ensured that young Arthur traveled widely, exposing him to the diversity of life and thought. Yet his father's death when Schopenhauer was just 17 left a profound void, one that shaped his worldview in unexpected ways. It was his mother, Johanna, who became a pivotal influence, not through nurturing love, but through sharp criticism. Johanna Schopenhauer was a celebrated novelist, far more popular in her time than her philosophical son. Her letters to Arthur were often cutting, calling him self-centered and overly intellectual. While her words were undoubtedly harsh, they planted seeds in Arthur's mind. Seeds that would grow into his ideas about the human condition, the futility of ego, and the value of humility. Schopenhauer's life was far from smooth sailing. He struggled with recognition during his lifetime, often overshadowed by contemporaries like Hegel. Yet these experiences taught him a crucial lesson. The pursuit of external validation is futile. What matters is cultivating an inner sense of clarity, wisdom, and self-worth. This conviction became the cornerstone of his philosophy and is reflected in The Wisdom of Life, where he advocates for a life led by reason and restraint rather than ego and impulse. Interestingly, Schopenhauer's ideas about humility resonate strongly with modern psychological research. Take, for example, the concept of intellectual humility, the ability to recognize the limits of your knowledge and the willingness to learn from others. Studies in social psychology show that intellectual humility fosters better relationships, reduces conflict, and encourages personal growth. It's a trait that feels almost revolutionary in today's world, where certainty often trumps curiosity. Susan Cain's Quiet. The power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking echoes this idea. Cain argues that introverts, who often embody humility and observation, bring unique strengths to the table. They are thinkers, listeners, and strategists, qualities that Schopenhauer would undoubtedly have admired. In a society that rewards loudness and boldness, Schopenhauer's philosophy reminds us of the power in pausing, reflecting, and choosing our words carefully. Schopenhauer's early struggles with his mother's criticism and his later rejection by academic circles taught him that wisdom isn't about being the loudest or the most celebrated voice. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to assert yourself, and when to let others reveal themselves. As we move forward, let's explore one of Schopenhauer's most counterintuitive strategies, the art of playing dumb. It's a tactic that might sound strange, but as you'll see, it's a game changer in the quest for respect, influence, and wisdom. Playing dumb, the surprising art of strategic deception. At first glance, the idea of playing dumb may seem counterproductive, even absurd. Why would anyone willingly appear less capable or knowledgeable than they are? But Schopenhauer believed this tactic was not just effective, it was often essential. The essence of this strategy is to disarm others, gain their trust, and observe without revealing too much about yourself. To understand the value of this approach, let's step back and consider human nature. We are, by default, guarded creatures. When we encounter someone who appears highly intelligent, accomplished, or ambitious, our defenses rise. We become competitive, skeptical, even combative. But when faced with someone who seems non-threatening, our defenses lower. It's this dynamic that makes playing dumb a powerful tool for navigating relationships, negotiations, and social dynamics. Schopenhauer wasn't the first to recognize the brilliance of this tactic. Sun Tzu, in The Art of War, famously advised, "Appear weak when you are strong." The goal is not to deceive maliciously, but to create an environment where others underestimate you, allowing you to operate with greater freedom and insight. By downplaying your strengths, you can observe others more clearly, understand their intentions, and make more calculated moves. History is rich with examples of this principle in action. Take Mahatma Gandhi, for instance. He was often seen as a frail, soft-spoken man, yet his quiet demeanor concealed an iron will and strategic brilliance. Gandhi's ability to play small disarmed even the mightiest opponents, enabling him to achieve monumental victories in India's struggle for independence. Modern thinkers like Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, highlight this tactic in the form of the law, "Conceal your intentions." Greene argues that keeping people guessing about your true capabilities and motives gives you an undeniable edge. When people think they've figured you out, they stop being vigilant. This is when the element of surprise becomes your greatest ally. Playing dumb isn't about lying or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about knowing when to step back and let others take center stage. This approach is particularly effective in negotiations, where revealing too much too soon can undermine your position. By appearing less knowledgeable, you encourage others to share more, revealing their thoughts, strategies, and vulnerabilities. But this tactic isn't just for leaders or negotiators. It's also invaluable in personal relationships. Imagine a situation where a friend or partner is upset. Jumping in with solutions or intellectual arguments can backfire, making them feel unheard or invalidated. Instead, by taking a step back, listening, and appearing open rather than assertive, you create space for genuine connection. In Schopenhauer's view, playing dumb is a form of wisdom. It requires self-control, emotional intelligence, and an understanding of human behavior. It's not about diminishing yourself, but about strategically choosing when to reveal your true strengths. As we continue, let's explore how this idea connects to the broader concept of silence. Schopenhauer believed that knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when not to, was one of the greatest markers of wisdom. Let's unravel the profound power of silence and its role in achieving respect and influence. Wisdom in silence, the subtle power of restraint. In a world that often equates talking with influence, silence is a rare and undervalued treasure. Yet Schopenhauer believed that silence is not just golden, it's a profound display of wisdom. To him, the ability to hold one's tongue, to resist the urge to fill every pause with words, and to listen instead of speak, were marks of true intelligence. Why is silence so powerful? At its core, silence gives you the gift of perspective. When you're not busy talking, you're observing. You're taking in subtle cues, understanding dynamics, and learning things that others might miss. Silence creates space for reflection, allowing you to think before you speak. A trait that's increasingly rare in today's world of instant reactions and knee-jerk responses. Modern psychology affirms this idea. Active listening, a skill rooted in silence, is proven to strengthen relationships, build trust, and foster understanding. Michael P. Nichols, in his book, The Lost Art of Listening, emphasizes that truly listening to someone without interrupting or planning your reply can transform how people perceive and connect with you. Listening is not a passive act. It's one of the most active and engaging things you can do. Schopenhauer's teachings on silence go beyond the practical. He saw silence as a path to self-mastery. When you can control your impulse to speak especially in moments of anger, frustration, or defensiveness, you demonstrate a level of self-discipline that few possess. It's in these moments of restraint that you not only gain respect from others, but also from yourself. History offers us compelling examples of the wisdom of silence. Think of leaders like Abraham Lincoln, who was known for his thoughtful pauses and careful consideration before speaking. This wasn't just a communication style, it was a strategy. By choosing his words carefully, Lincoln inspired trust and conveyed a depth of understanding that few could rival. The same principle applies to everyday life. Imagine a heated argument with a colleague or loved one. The natural response is to defend yourself, to argue, or to prove your point. But what happens if you stay silent instead? Often, the other person reveals more than they intended. Their emotions cool, and the conversation shifts from confrontation to resolution. Silence, in these moments, becomes a tool for de-escalation and understanding. Schopenhauer's perspective on silence also ties into the concept of presence. When you're silent, you're fully present. You're not just hearing words, you're noticing tone, body language, and the unspoken emotions behind the words. This level of attentiveness not only enhances your understanding of others, but also deepens your relationships. But silence isn't about passivity or weakness. It's about timing. Schopenhauer believed that knowing when to speak is just as important as knowing what to say. Words, when used sparingly and purposefully, carry far greater weight. It's the difference between a stream that flows endlessly and one that bursts forth at just the right moment, creating impact and leaving a lasting impression. As we move forward, let's explore how silence and restraint can be combined with another of Schopenhauer's key strategies, the art of surprise. When you withhold your full strength and reveal it at the perfect moment, you create a lasting effect that leaves others in awe. Let's unravel how this principle has shaped history and why it remains a timeless strategy for influence and respect. Mastering the art of surprise, the impact of withholding strength. Imagine you're playing a game of chess. Your opponent is confident, perhaps even overconfident, because they believe they've figured you out. Then, just when they think they've won, you make a move they didn't see coming, changing the game entirely. That's the power of surprise, a principle Schopenhauer believed was as vital in life as it is in strategy. Schopenhauer's teachings often emphasize the value of withholding one's full strength until the opportune moment. This isn't about deception in the negative sense. It's about maintaining an element of unpredictability. When people can't easily predict your moves or fully understand your capabilities, you gain a unique advantage. In The Wisdom of Life, Schopenhauer alludes to this subtle mastery as a way to navigate both relationships and challenges with finesse. This idea aligns closely with Socratic irony, a method used by the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. By pretending to know less than he did, Socrates encouraged his opponents to reveal their arguments fully, often exposing the flaws in their reasoning. This wasn't about trickery. It was about fostering deeper understanding and allowing truth to emerge naturally. In a modern context, this principle applies to debates, negotiations, and even personal interactions. The concept of withholding strength is further elaborated in The Strategy of Conflict by Thomas Schelling. Schelling discusses how strategic moves, whether in diplomacy, business, or everyday decision-making, often depend on timing and unpredictability. By keeping your intentions unclear, you force others to make assumptions, which can lead to mistakes or overconfidence on their part. This creates opportunities for you to act decisively when the moment is right. History is filled with examples of this principle in action. Consider the military tactics of George Washington during the American Revolutionary War. Washington often avoided direct confrontation with the British, choosing instead to conserve his resources and strike when conditions were most favorable. This strategy of restraint and surprise was instrumental in securing victory against a far more powerful opponent. The art of surprise isn't confined to warfare or strategy. It's deeply relevant to our personal and professional lives. Think about the impact of holding back your best ideas in a brainstorming session, only to present them at the right moment. Or consider how athletes often pace themselves, conserving their energy for a final, decisive push that leaves their competitors stunned. Schopenhauer's philosophy suggests that surprise works because it defies expectations. When people anticipate a particular outcome and you deliver something entirely different, it leaves a lasting impression. This isn't just about impressing others. It's about maintaining control over your narrative and your actions. It's about ensuring that your strengths are revealed, not when others demand them, but when you choose to show them. In relationships, this principle can build respect and admiration. Imagine a scenario where someone underestimates your abilities because you haven't felt the need to constantly display them. Then, in a moment of need or challenge, you step up and exceed all expectations. That kind of impact lingers, creating a sense of awe and respect that's hard to replicate through words alone. Schopenhauer understood that the art of surprise is ultimately about wisdom in action. It's about knowing yourself, understanding others, and choosing the right moment to act. As we transition to the next part, let's explore how this principle ties into managing relationships with humility, a skill that Schopenhauer believed was essential for personal and professional success. Let's dive into the nuances of intellectual humility and its transformative power in our interactions. Managing relationships with intellectual humility. Have you ever noticed how the people we admire most aren't necessarily the loudest or the most assertive? Often, they're the ones who approach relationships with humility, understanding, and an ability to adapt. Schopenhauer believed that intellectual humility, the recognition of our own limitations, and the willingness to value others' perspectives, is key to fostering meaningful and lasting connections. This idea might sound simple, but in practice, it's one of the most challenging skills to master. Why? Because our egos constantly crave validation. We want to prove we're right, showcase our intelligence, and have the last word. Schopenhauer, however, saw this need as a trap. He argued that true wisdom comes from stepping back, listening, and letting go of the compulsion to dominate conversations or relationships. Modern psychology reinforces this insight. Research shows that intellectual humility not only improves personal relationships, but also enhances professional collaboration. It's a concept explored in Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute, a fascinating book that reveals how seeing others as equals, rather than as obstacles, can transform the way we interact with them. This shift in mindset encourages empathy, cooperation, and trust, the cornerstones of any healthy relationship. Consider how intellectual humility plays out in different scenarios. Let's start with managing a difficult boss. Many of us instinctively push back against authority, especially when we feel misunderstood or undervalued. But Schopenhauer would advise a different approach, humility paired with quiet observation. By understanding your boss's needs, motivations, and insecurities, you can position yourself as a trusted ally rather than a competitor. This doesn't mean you should suppress your ideas or accept unfair treatment. It means choosing your battles wisely and presenting your strengths at the right time. Now think about guiding aging parents or navigating relationships with family members. It's easy to fall into frustration, especially when opinions clash or when roles shift, as they often do in family dynamics. Intellectual humility allows you to see things from their perspective, fostering patience and understanding. It's about recognizing that every relationship is a two-way street, and that wisdom lies in meeting people where they are, rather than forcing them to change. Schopenhauer's philosophy also applies to friendships and romantic relationships. The urge to be right or to assert dominance can erode trust and intimacy over time. Humility, on the other hand, creates space for vulnerability and genuine connection. When you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, you invite others to share their perspectives, deepening the bond between you. There's also a subtle power in allowing others to take the spotlight. When you let people feel heard and valued, they're more likely to respect and support you in return. This principle is especially important in leadership, where humility is often mistaken for weakness. In reality, leaders who practice humility inspire loyalty and collaboration far more effectively than those who rely on authority or intimidation. Schopenhauer understood that humility isn't about diminishing yourself, it's about elevating others. This approach doesn't just improve relationships, it also enhances your own growth. By being open to feedback and willing to learn from others, you become a better, wiser version of yourself. As we continue, let's shift focus to the flip side of this equation, the pitfalls of arrogance. Schopenhauer warned against the dangers of flaunting intelligence or success, a lesson that feels especially relevant in today's age of social media and constant self-promotion. Let's explore how arrogance undermines respect and what we can do to avoid its traps. The pitfalls of arrogance. Why flaunting intelligence backfires. In a world obsessed with success and recognition, it's tempting to flaunt our intelligence, achievements, and abilities. But Schopenhauer warned that this path often leads to isolation, resentment, and unintended consequences. Arrogance, he argued, doesn't inspire admiration, it breeds hostility. This insight is more relevant than ever in an era where social media amplifies the urge to showcase our lives in the best possible light. Think about the last time you encountered someone who constantly talked about their accomplishments or displayed their knowledge in every conversation. Did you feel inspired or did you feel annoyed? Arrogance creates distance. It signals to others that we value ourselves above them, making it difficult to build trust or genuine connections. Schopenhauer understood this dynamic and encouraged humility as a more effective path to respect. Social media has made the pitfalls of arrogance even more apparent. Platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn have given rise to the phenomenon of the humble brag, where people disguise self-promotion as modesty. Phrases like, "I can't believe I was chosen for this incredible opportunity," are less about humility and more about drawing attention to achievements. While these posts may garner likes and comments, they rarely foster genuine admiration. Instead, they often provoke envy or skepticism. Ryan Holiday's Ego is the Enemy captures the dangers of arrogance beautifully. Holiday argues that ego blinds us to reality, making us overestimate our abilities and underestimate the contributions of others. This mindset not only damages relationships, but also stunts personal growth. When we're too focused on proving our worth, we miss opportunities to learn, improve, and connect on a deeper level. Schopenhauer's philosophy suggests a different approach, leading with humility and allowing others to recognize our strengths naturally. This doesn't mean suppressing your talents or pretending to be less capable than you are. It means letting your actions speak louder than your words. When you achieve something noteworthy, let others discover it on their own. The respect that comes from quiet competence is far more enduring than the fleeting admiration gained from self-promotion. Arrogance can also backfire in professional settings. Imagine a team member who constantly reminds everyone of their past successes. While they may initially command attention, over time, their behavior alienates colleagues and creates tension. Contrast this with someone who works diligently without seeking recognition. Their humility not only earns respect, but also fosters a collaborative environment where everyone feels valued. Even in personal relationships, arrogance can be damaging. A partner who always insists on being right or showcasing their intelligence creates an imbalance, making the other person feel small or undervalued. Schopenhauer believed that true connection comes from seeing others as equals, appreciating their strengths, and acknowledging our own flaws. One of the most compelling aspects of Schopenhauer's teachings is his emphasis on the internal consequences of arrogance. He argued that the need to constantly prove oneself is exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling. When we tie our self-worth to external validation, we become prisoners of others' opinions. True freedom, he suggested, comes from within, from a quiet confidence that doesn't require applause. As we move forward, let's explore the role of empathy in Schopenhauer's philosophy. While humility helps us connect with others, empathy allows us to truly understand and support them. Together, these qualities create a foundation for meaningful relationships and genuine respect. Let's uncover how empathy, combined with the art of playing dumb, can elevate your influence and deepen your connections. The role of empathy in playing dumb, connecting through understanding. Schopenhauer believed that life's greatest wisdom often lies in understanding others rather than in proving ourselves. At the heart of this understanding is empathy, the ability to see the world through someone else's eyes. But how does empathy tie into the art of playing dumb, a tactic that Schopenhauer advocated for gaining respect and influence? The connection is both profound and practical. When you intentionally appear less knowledgeable or capable than you are, you give others the space to reveal themselves, both their strengths and their vulnerabilities. This act isn't about manipulation. It's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable being themselves. Empathy is what makes this approach genuine. By focusing on their perspectives, needs, and emotions, you turn what might seem like a deceptive tactic into a powerful tool for connection. Schopenhauer emphasized the importance of overlooking others' flaws and gently elevating their strengths. This doesn't mean ignoring bad behavior or enabling poor decisions. It means choosing to see people as they are, with compassion and understanding. Empathy allows you to connect on a deeper level, fostering trust and mutual respect. This approach is beautifully explained in Helen Reese's The Empathy Effect, a book that explores how small acts of understanding can transform relationships. Take, for example, a workplace scenario. Imagine a colleague who tends to dominate conversations, eager to showcase their knowledge. Instead of challenging them or trying to outshine them, consider stepping back and playing dumb. Ask questions, seek their advice, and let them take the spotlight. In doing so, you satisfy their need for recognition while also learning more about their thought process. Over time, this dynamic can shift, with them viewing you as a trusted confidant rather than a competitor. Empathy also plays a crucial role in personal relationships. Suppose a friend or partner is going through a difficult time, but finds it hard to express their feelings. By refraining from offering solutions or intellectualizing their struggles, and instead asking open-ended questions or simply listening, you create a safe space for them to open up. This act of playing dumb, not rushing to conclusions or asserting your viewpoint, allows them to feel truly seen and heard. Even in parenting, empathy and the art of appearing less authoritative can work wonders. Children often resist direct instructions, especially as they grow older and seek independence. By asking for their input, showing curiosity about their ideas, and withholding immediate judgment, you not only strengthen your bond with them, but also encourage critical thinking and self-confidence. Schopenhauer's philosophy also ties empathy to a broader understanding of humanity. He believed that by recognizing our shared struggles and imperfections, we could transcend petty conflicts and build more meaningful connections. This perspective aligns closely with the Buddhist teaching of metta, or loving kindness, which emphasizes compassion for all beings, regardless of their actions or attitudes. But empathy isn't without its challenges. It requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to put aside your ego. Playing dumb can feel counterintuitive, especially if you're used to asserting your intelligence or proving your worth. Yet, the rewards are immense. Empathy, combined with humility, transforms interactions from transactional to transformational. As we move to the next part, we'll explore an idea that builds on this foundation: the psychological freedom that comes from letting go of others' opinions. Schopenhauer believed that this mental liberation was key to living authentically and achieving inner peace. Let's discover how releasing the need for external validation can elevate your emotional and intellectual freedom. The psychological freedom of letting go. Liberation from others' opinions. What would your life look like if you stopped caring so much about what others think of you? For many, the mere thought is liberating. Schopenhauer believed that true psychological freedom comes when we release ourselves from the constant weight of external validation. This idea isn't about indifference or apathy. It's about reclaiming the energy we lose to overthinking and self-doubt. Why do we place so much importance on others' opinions? Part of it stems from our evolutionary need to belong. Humans are social creatures, and acceptance from the group has long been tied to survival. But in today's world, this instinct has morphed into something more insidious: a constant performance for approval, whether on social media, at work, or even among friends and family. Schopenhauer argued that this performance is a kind of imprisonment. When we let others' judgments dictate our actions, we hand over control of our lives. He believed that true wisdom lies in recognizing the fleeting and often misguided nature of people's opinions. Most of the time, their judgments are based on their own insecurities, biases, or incomplete information, factors that have little to do with your true worth. Modern psychology echoes this sentiment. In The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga, the authors explore the liberating philosophy of Alfred Adler, who posited that much of our anxiety stems from an excessive focus on how we are perceived. Adlerian psychology teaches that the only validation worth seeking is our own. By shifting our attention inward, we can live authentically and pursue what truly matters to us. Letting go of others' opinions doesn't mean rejecting all feedback or becoming selfish. Instead, it's about discerning whose opinions truly matter. Schopenhauer encouraged us to focus on our internal compass, our principles, values, and self-awareness, rather than the ever-changing judgments of the crowd. This approach fosters emotional resilience and clarity, enabling us to make decisions that align with our authentic selves. Consider the freedom this mindset brings. When you stop worrying about whether your ideas will be criticized, you become more creative. When you release the fear of rejection, your relationships grow stronger because they're built on honesty, not pretense. And when you no longer chase approval, you free up mental energy to focus on what genuinely fulfills you. Schopenhauer also highlighted the absurdity of placing too much weight on external validation. He observed that most people are preoccupied with their own lives, paying far less attention to us than we imagine. This realization can be a powerful antidote to the fear of judgment. After all, if others aren't thinking about us as much as we think they are, why should we let their opinions shape our lives? One of the most empowering aspects of this philosophy is its ability to shift our priorities. When we stop seeking approval, we start seeking purpose. We become less concerned with how we're perceived and more focused on how we contribute to the world around us. This idea aligns with existentialist teachings, particularly those found in Buddhism and Hinduism. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises Arjuna to act without attachment to the results of his actions, a concept known as nishkama karma. This principle encourages us to focus on doing what's right, regardless of how others perceive it. As we move forward, let's explore how Schopenhauer's insights intersect with another timeless philosophical tool, Socratic irony. This approach not only fosters intellectual growth, but also helps us navigate complex interactions with humility and tact. Let's uncover how this technique remains relevant in our modern world. Socratic irony in modern times. Wisdom in questioning. Imagine sitting across from someone who seems to know all the answers, but instead of lecturing, they ask you questions. Questions that challenge your assumptions, make you think more deeply, and ultimately lead you to insights you might not have reached on your own. This is the essence of Socratic irony, a method made famous by Socrates, but one that aligns beautifully with Schopenhauer's philosophy of humility and strategic silence. Socratic irony is not about pretending to be ignorant for the sake of deception. It's about asking genuine, probing questions that create space for reflection and dialogue. Socrates often feigned ignorance to encourage his interlocutors to explain their views fully, exposing contradictions and uncovering deeper truths. Schopenhauer admired this approach, seeing it as a way to balance wisdom with humility, two qualities he believed were essential for intellectual and personal growth. In today's world, where debates often devolve into arguments and conversations into competitions, Socratic irony is a refreshing antidote. It shifts the focus from winning to understanding, from asserting to exploring. This approach is particularly effective in negotiations, leadership, and even personal relationships. By asking thoughtful questions instead of making statements, you create an environment of mutual respect and discovery. J. Heinrichs, in Thank You for Arguing, highlights how Socratic questioning remains a powerful tool for persuasion. He explains that by asking open-ended questions, you not only disarm your opponent, but also guide them toward seeing your perspective without ever directly stating it. This method fosters collaboration rather than conflict, making it a valuable skill in both professional and personal settings. Consider how this technique plays out in real-life scenarios. In the workplace, a leader who constantly gives orders may achieve compliance, but a leader who asks questions, "What do you think we should do?" or "How can we improve this process?" inspires creativity and ownership among their team. Similarly, in personal relationships, asking questions like, "Why do you feel that way?" or "What do you think is the best solution?" can diffuse tension and lead to more productive conversations. Socratic irony also ties into critical thinking, a skill that's increasingly vital in an age of information overload. By questioning assumptions and seeking clarity, you develop the ability to discern truth from misinformation. This practice not only strengthens your own reasoning, but also empowers others to think more critically. It's a ripple effect that benefits everyone involved. One of the reasons Socratic irony is so effective is that it reflects genuine curiosity. People are more willing to open up when they sense that you're truly interested in their thoughts, rather than waiting for your turn to speak. This aligns with Schopenhauer's belief in the power of listening and the importance of focusing on others rather than ourselves. Philosophically, Socratic irony encourages intellectual humility. It's a reminder that no matter how much we know, there's always more to learn. This mindset not only fosters personal growth, but also deepens our connections with others. When you approach conversations with the attitude of a learner rather than an expert, you invite collaboration and mutual respect. Schopenhauer's appreciation for this method stems from its subtlety. Like playing dumb or mastering silence, Socratic irony is about choosing your moments wisely, engaging in dialogue without dominating it, guiding without forcing, and teaching without preaching. As we transition to the next part, let's explore how humility and these strategies combine to create a unique form of leadership, one that wins respect not through authority or intelligence, but through quiet strength and genuine connection. Let's uncover how embracing humility positions you as the ultimate underdog and an unlikely hero in your own story. Embracing humility for success, the underdog's secret weapon. In a world that glorifies boldness and bravado, humility often seems underrated, almost invisible. Yet Schopenhauer recognized humility as one of the most powerful traits a person can cultivate. It's the underdog's secret weapon, a quality that doesn't just win respect, but transforms how people perceive and relate to you. Humility, paired with wisdom and silence, is what sets you apart in a crowd clamoring for attention. Why does humility work so well? At its core, it disarms people. When someone appears humble, they're seen as approachable, trustworthy, and grounded. This perception fosters connection and admiration, often positioning the humble individual as a quiet leader. Schopenhauer believed that true success isn't about being the loudest or the smartest. It's about mastering the art of being underestimated. One of the most compelling examples of humility in action is found in sports. Consider an athlete who enters a competition as the underdog, with no grand proclamations of their abilities. They focus on preparation, perform with quiet determination, and let their actions speak. When they succeed, the impact is far greater than if they had boasted beforehand. The humility they displayed enhances their victory, making it not just a win, but an inspiration. This principle applies far beyond sports. In politics, figures like Abraham Lincoln embodied humility, often sharing credit and deflecting praise. His ability to listen, empathize, and lead from a place of service rather than ego earned him enduring respect and admiration. Similarly, in business, leaders who acknowledge their team's contributions and admit their own mistakes foster loyalty and collaboration. The humility they exhibit strengthens their influence far more than any display of authority could. In Underestimated, an Autism Miracle, by J.B. Handley, the power of being overlooked is beautifully illustrated. Handley tells the story of his son who, despite being underestimated due to his autism, defies expectations through resilience and quiet strength. This narrative highlights a universal truth. When others underestimate you, they lower their defenses. This gives you the freedom to grow, adapt, and surprise them in ways they never anticipated. Humility also plays a crucial role in personal relationships. Think about a disagreement with a friend or partner. Arrogance might compel you to prove you're right, escalating the conflict. But humility allows you to step back, acknowledge the other person's perspective, and seek resolution rather than victory. This approach not only diffuses tension, but strengthens the bond between you. Schopenhauer's philosophy encourages us to see humility not as weakness, but as a form of quiet strength. It's about knowing your worth without needing to proclaim it, recognizing others' value without feeling threatened, and understanding that success often comes to those who are willing to learn, adapt, and grow. But humility isn't just about external success, it's also about inner peace. When you stop trying to prove yourself to others, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of comparison and validation. You become more focused, more present, and more attuned to what truly matters. As we approach the final part of this journey, let's reflect on the 5 transformative strategies inspired by Schopenhauer's teachings. These principles, embracing silence, mastering humility, practicing empathy, playing dumb, and letting go of others' opinions, are more than just tactics. They're a way of life that leads to deeper fulfillment and lasting respect. Now, let's wrap this up with a thought-provoking invitation to apply these insights and reflect on their impact. The transformative power of wisdom and humility, an invitation to reflection. As we bring together the strands of Schopenhauer's wisdom, one thing becomes clear. True strength doesn't lie in intelligence alone, nor in loud declarations of success. Instead, it resides in the quiet mastery of humility, empathy, silence, and strategic restraint. These principles, though subtle, are transformative. They invite us to live not for the applause of others, but for the depth and authenticity of our own inner lives. Let's take a moment to reflect on the 5 key strategies we've uncovered from Schopenhauer's teachings. First, we explored the power of strategic silence, a tool that allows us to observe, understand, and act with precision. Next, we examined the art of playing dumb, a counterintuitive but highly effective method for gaining trust and disarming defenses. From there, we delved into the importance of empathy, recognizing that understanding others is often more impactful than proving ourselves. Then came the courage to let go of others' opinions, liberating ourselves from the chains of external validation. Finally, we embraced humility, the quiet force that turns underdogs into heroes and adversaries into allies. These insights are not confined to philosophy. They're a guide to navigating modern life with grace and wisdom. In relationships, humility fosters trust and connection. In leadership, silence and restraint earn respect. And in personal growth, letting go of ego allows us to focus on what truly matters. Schopenhauer's philosophy is not just a way to think, it's a way to live. Alain de Botton, in The Consolations of Philosophy, reminds us that philosophy's greatest gift is its ability to reframe how we see the world and ourselves. Schopenhauer's teachings do exactly that. They challenge us to question societal norms that equate loudness with strength, and to embrace the quieter, more enduring path of wisdom and humility. But as with any philosophy, the value lies in application. How will you incorporate these ideas into your own life? Will you practice silence in conversations, allowing others to reveal their thoughts while you listen and learn? Will you approach disagreements with empathy, seeking to understand before seeking to win? Will you embrace humility, letting your actions speak louder than your words? These questions aren't rhetorical. They're an invitation to action. Schopenhauer's insights, as profound as they are, mean little without your willingness to experiment with them, to see how they might shift the dynamics of your relationships, your work, and your inner world. So here's a challenge. For the next week, pick one strategy and make it your focus. Perhaps it's practicing silence, observing how it changes the way others respond to you. Or maybe it's letting go of the need to prove yourself, noticing the freedom it brings. Share your experiences in the comments below. What worked? What surprised you? What did you learn about yourself? As we close, remember this. True wisdom isn't about outshining others. It's about illuminating your own path. Schopenhauer's teachings are a call to live authentically, to act with purpose, and to find strength in quiet places. Will you take up this call? The choice, as always, is yours.